All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Education of North Posey County's regular school meeting for September 9th. And we will open the meeting by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jeff, I'd request at this time that we have Airmark listed in the reports at the very end of the meeting.
Okay.
And seeing that we're probably going to have some testimony, and I would just request that we move them to speak now and give their presentation so they can go ahead and get on their trip back to Indy.
Sure. All right,
We're up.
Airmark team, the floor is yours.
Well, we didn't prepare a presentation or we would have brought food, so next time. But we just wanted to give you a little bit of an update. So we've had some really good response from all of the schools. You're up about 300 meals a day. We projected about 1,200 meals served each day, and we're serving about 1,500 meals each day. So really like to hear any of your comments or anything that you've heard, but mostly we've heard all positive things. We are starting a program that will be attached to your website that will show the nutritional information. It's actually, if you log into NutriSlice, there's an app you can download. It's called NutriSlice. And if you pull up North Posey schools, MSU North Posey, your schools are there. It's just not live yet. So we need to get our menus connected and attached and get that working fully, but it's close, very close.
And through that NutriSlice program, if you had a student that has some sort of dietary restrictions, it'll be helpful to those parents. Correct?
Absolutely. If you have a student that has a milk allergy, say, you can just pull up all the things that don't have milk in them, and you'll know that they'll be able to eat any of those things. So
How many meals are we up a day?
about 300.
That's breakfast and lunch.
Correct. Right.
Well, I can tell you my 12-year-old or 11-year-old at home now knows the menu a week in advance. And he had some kind of a deal with Mrs. McMahon about running the cross-country meet, and whatever time he finished the 2 miles, he was wanting free lunch. So
Okay, well, good.
that didn't happen last year.
Great.
So we appreciate that.
Definitely heard a lot of positive comments about the meals, and I did eat one of the meals, and it was excellent. The one concern I had was some of the staff seems a little overwhelmed. I'm hoping that's just an adjustment thing.
I think we're gonna have some requests for additional staff and the next board meeting. Yeah. We're working on it.
And I know in one of the presentations there was talk about like a grab and go type of a deal. And we have a lot of our after school athletic programs.
That's another thing that this app will do. They'll be able to order it. If they want a grab and go meal, they'll be able to order that right on the app. So,
Just like that.
yes.
And when's that going live?
Okay.
We just got it all kind of through today, an update, and so hopefully, I would imagine.
I would say a couple of weeks, maybe.
Right. And you, I guess you'll communicate that with the coaches and everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they're eager to use it.
Oh, yeah.
They're very,
Very eager to use
very
it.
eager, and we also, I do know of students already buying those at lunch and keeping them.
Oh, really?
So they're already making use of our grab and go. We'll just be able to keep it for them so they don't have to worry with storing it through the day.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
And there are some personnel requests for hiring in this board packet. Yeah, we've been operating understaffed because we never replaced Stacy when she moved to her position. And we did have one resignation, so we've not been fully staffed anyway. But with some of these other programs, we'll probably add some more. Well, thank you very much, and we're very disappointed we didn't get smoothies.
Actually, you can show up at the high school and the elementary this week are having smoothies, so just give us a call, we'll tell you what day.
Well, thank you very much. If you want to stay, you can feel free to stay, and we'll go on down, because we had to go at the end of
Free party. That's right. Big smoothie guy. It's all right.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yeah, that's hard. We've got a little oil leak there too. Gotta get that fixed in the cylinders.
Okay, back to the regular items on the agenda.
Okay, at this time, I'll open up the collective bargaining, hearing for compensation, with, Indiana Code 20-29-6.1A. We're required to have a public hearing before we go into bargaining. I have on, Amy has on the board a little short slide presentation. I'm not going to read everything. Basically, I'm going to let you know what we can bargain, what we cannot bargain, and a little bit of the finances and some restrictions. So slide 2, subjects of bargaining are wage and salary and fringe benefits. That is the only thing that you can bargain, and the fringe benefits are listed. Slide 3, you cannot bargain evaluations, hours of work, safety issues, teacher appreciation grant, class sizes, hiring assessments, transfers, RIFs, student discipline, expulsion or supervision, budget appropriations. Cannot bargain the school calendar, curriculum materials, textbooks, teaching methods, teaching dismissal, restructuring options for failing schools, the ability to partner with an outside entity for dual credit, or funding recommendations. School funding. There's in the past, there used to be like 5 checkbooks. There was the general fund, there was CPF, there was debt service, there was transportation and bus replacement. The state restructured that, and we're in that now. And the education fund is now the old general fund, but if it's not an educational expense, it can't be taken out of the education fund. And the state determined what was and was not. They didn't give us the latitude to do that. So all other expenses have to come out of the operations fund. Well, the education fund is funded by state taxes and the ADM. The main state tax is the sales tax. The ADM is the number of students times the number of the amount of money that they're going to give you, and we'll go over that for each student. The operations fund is basically local property tax. The next slide. ADM funding for the education fund. In 2018-19 school year, the state provided us with $5,352 per student. Now that money was for all year. There was 2 counts last year, but only 1 count for funding. In this change, 2019-20, the ADM account, which I am excited to say is the first true increase that we've seen in a long time. They'll increase that ADM count, but then they'll take something out on the backside. So at the end of the day, in the education fund or the old general fund, you really didn't see the new money. They didn't take anything out on the backside this time. So that's pretty exciting. So it's $55,548. Now there are 2 counts this year. And the first count, we had to do an estimate, and we're getting paid off of that estimate the first 6 months. The first 6 months is July to December. The second 6 month is January to June. But in February, there's going to be a second count. And traditionally, all schools lose students in the February count. So what we have for bargaining this 6 months won't be what we have to fund that bargaining settlement the second 6 months. It could be that we were a growing school and we would have more students, and then That would be a downside for the bargaining team. An upside, I mean, the downside is on our side most of the time because we have midterm graduates, we have students transfer out, we have foreign exchange students that leave. So generally our number is less in February. Our funding, what we do with bargaining is we take the ADM funds and we compare them from one year to the other. The increase is the new money and the teachers get a portion of that. This year, and it's a one-time deal, we used to pay 7.5% of the teacher retirement fund. They reduced that and now we only have to pay 5%. So there's 2% of the teacher retirement fund that is considered as new money. And then the other new money is the replacement of the teacher, the difference between last year's teachers on staff and this year's teachers on staff. If there's a savings, that is new money and that's bargainable money. Our main expenditures, like we said on the last slide, teacher salary, benefits, supplies, instructional assistants, and building level offices. So that's what we spend the money on. Our compensation model followed the past codes. They took out the teacher increment. The state did. You could no longer do that. And if you did an increment in your compensation model, the most of the raise that you could give, let's say it's a $1,000 raise, only 33% of that could be based on education and years of experience. In the new legislation this year, that has been up to 50%. And the other thing that I want to just point out before we open it up, when people were reporting salaries in the paper, some people report with the TRF in, and some people report it with the TRF out. TRF is basically 10.5%. So some salaries look inflated while some don't. So you just got to make sure when you're looking at a salary, is the TRF in that salary or has it already been taken out? The timeline, next slide, basically for us, this is a template that was made. The timeline for us is we're having the hearing tonight. Our first bargaining meeting is the 18th. Probably we'll have 2 or 3 meetings, hopefully to be able to settle that. We have to have another meeting to, the bargaining team has to ratify that and the teachers have to vote on it, but we also have to, which is new, have to have a meeting to, in our board to discuss the TA, tentative agreement, in public before we can vote on it. So we'll have to do that. And the final date that you can bargain before you're declared an impasse is November the 15th. So we have to get all this done between now and then. And there's a lot of things to discuss with insurance, salaries, benefits, and things of that sort. So it's a very fast process. And so I'm glad Dave's here. He has been the union president, or association president for a while. And hopefully we can get this started on the 18th and get on a good roll and have meeting after meeting after meeting to get it done as fast as possible. The testimony, the final slide, the testimony should be limited to collective bargaining items only for that piece of it. So I think right now, we will open up this meeting, this hearing, for anybody that wants to speak on collective bargaining.
So we have a list, we had a sign-up list to start with. So we'll go in that order. Mrs. Morrow.
Would you like a copy?
Please. Thank you.
Dear Dr. Camp, Dr. Bender, and members of the school board, I'm Kathy Morrow. I teach kindergarten at South Terrace Elementary. I've been with the North Posey School District since August of 2007. I'm in my 13th year. I'm writing administration and members of the board to express my concerns with our current teacher compensation. I realize this is not only a concern for our corporation, but a statewide issue, but it's time for our district to analyze the way our teachers are valued. As most, I didn't go into teaching for the money. I chose to teach because I love educating children who are our future. It's time for us to be valued and respected. I'm fully invested in North Posey. My husband and I moved here from Newburgh 21 years ago. This was a small school system with quality educators. All three of my children went to South Terrace and graduated from North Posey High School. With this being said, I'm discouraged and feel underappreciated by our corporation. We're matching new employees' former contracts from other districts, which are higher than what our loyal employees are making. Our morale is low when we are told there's no money for us, but new hires are coming in making more than those who've remained loyal to this corporation. Our district has been severely affected by the lack of pay raises, and our children are currently in classrooms with teachers who have no degree for the subject matter, or in some cases, no teaching degree at all. This is personal for me because my youngest son was affected by this in high school, specifically in math. He left South Terrace nearly pass plus, thanks to Donna McGinnis, and then failing ISTEP math at the end of his 8th grade year. He failed again his sophomore year, when passing was a requirement to receive his diploma. He finally passed after taking ISTEP for the 3rd time his junior year in the spring. He had a math teacher his junior year who had no degree in math, and that same teacher was placed in charge of teaching the math lab for students who hadn't passed ISTEP. He finally passed when he had a math teacher for the lab after Christmas his junior year. Our kids are paying the price, and that is not right. We're losing teachers to other districts who will compensate them. I plead with you to use this opportunity to hear our concerns and invest in our future. Please take steps to raise the minimum salary and reward our current teachers with the compensation they worked so hard for and earned. Respectfully submitted, Kathy Morrow.
Mrs. McGinnis?
Am I allowed to pass out a letter from a teacher who could make it to me? This is from Casey Thomas. She is currently coaching the volleyball game at South Terrace. One of her second jobs. And I know I have 3 minutes, but this is 3 quarters long, so. Maybe before, you never know what might happen. Okay. Dear Dr. Cam, Dr. Bender, members of the school board, I am Donna McGinnis and I teach 6th grade at South Terrace Elementary. I have been with North Posey School District since August of 2000. I am writing because, like you, I want to see the students in our schools succeed, and I've seen firsthand the powerful impact teachers can have on students' academic success. Finally, with the teacher compensation hearings, we at last have a positive way to voice our concerns. First, I would like to include a chart to examine the minimum and average salaries of corporations around the area during the 2017-18 school year, as cited by the website that is listed. You can tell by the chart that we are 12 out of 13 in area schools of average salary. As Dr. Kemp said, I am not 100% sure if it was post-TRF or pre-TRF, but this was based on the website that I found on the net. I believe the chart tells the facts. North Posey has not been committed to compensating our teachers over the years, but we are ahead of East Gibson, if that's any consolation. Now for my own opinion. We have some of the best teachers in our district. Just last week, Dr. Bender congratulated us on a job well done on our recent iLearn test. In her email, she stated, "To all teachers and staff, we are so proud of your efforts and hard work. The teachers at South Terrace, where I have the most experience, work to do their best each day and throughout the summer. I am also certain that we do not have the patent on that attitude in our district. I work closely with the other 6th grade teachers, Tracy's here, at North Elementary, and they are just as committed to providing the best education to their students. I also know that North Posey does not have the patent on teacher pay problems. It is a statewide problem. But now is the time to begin changing the trend before it gets worse. I will simply list the frustrations that I felt. I took these from a person in our community. 46 of 101 certified employees earn $39,114 or less. Some of these folks have been in our corp for more than 10 years. Is there no wonder we are losing our young talent? 72 of 101 certified employees earn $51,506 or less. 28 of these folks have a master's degree. Those figures prove there has not been a commitment in rewarding longtime employees. I am here to tell you that experience of a veteran teacher is difficult to replace. I fall in that category. My contracts show that I have barely received a cost of living increase in my base salary over the years. Yes, I have received stipends, but stipends don't guarantee the cost of living raise for the next year. My salaries are listed there for you to see. I am loyal to Norposi. I come to school each day and do my best, or at least I think so. I have been in the classroom for 33 years and have my master's degree. I attend numerous workshops each year to stay abreast of the current trends in education, and yet my yearly salary shows that I am not worth more than I was 5 years ago. I am frustrated by the current tier compensation system. I feel so frustrated when new hires come in and have been able to bargain for a higher base pay than a teacher that has been in the corp for years. The attitude of I love Norposi, but I need to leave and then come back and negotiate for a higher salary is real. It is so disheartening. And yes, I could do so also, but I feel loyal to our corporation and choose not to play that game. The RISE system requires an extra 20 hours of volunteer work in our corporation. That is part of my evaluation. I don't mind volunteering to make the school the best it can be, but at the same time, I feel sick when year after year my base pay is basically stagnant. I wonder how much my motivation would increase if my base pay followed my performance and involvement in South Terrace. And finally, I think it is sad we are losing so many talented teachers year after year. I see both sides. Where is their loyalty and where is the Norposi loyalty in working to keep its teachers? In conclusion, please, please begin to take steps to raise the minimum salary so we can entice and keep our young teachers. We don't want to look back and ask ourselves what happened to the excellence at Norposi. At the same time, I believe in the cost of living raises across the board as often as possible so that even the longtime employees can see a reward for their excellent work. Don't wait to act. If you do, there should be no surprise when the standard of education drops in Norposi. Respectfully submitted, Donna McGinnis.
Mrs. Crandall?
My husband's gonna have to suck it up and talk. Here it goes. Try my best. My two coworkers already got me emotional with this, so. Voice is gonna shake no matter what.
It is.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I don't even know. I can't even count right now, so there we go. Okay.
No one's gonna believe that we can teach.
I know. I promise I'm not like this in front of my class. Okay. My name is Heather Brandel, and I have begun my 12th year of teaching. All 12 of those years have been spent as a certified teacher in the MSD Norposi. I'm writing this letter to the administration and current board members of our board to voice my concerns in regards to the compensation of our teachers. I understand this is an ongoing battle for the whole state of Indiana, but I feel that our district has come to a crossroads where we need to take drastic action to avoid losing even more qualified teachers. I was raised in Evansville and attended large schools all my life. Sorry, I'd be emotional when I was told. The appeal of MSD to me was the small community and the small class sizes. Upon getting my job at Norposi High School in 2008, I chose to commute 35 minutes to work because I was excited to be a part of something great. The following year, I moved down to South Terrace Elementary where I felt I was part of a family that I did not want to leave. My constant dedication to my school and community eventually led to my family's decision of relocating from Evansville to Wadesville, which we just did in January. My husband and I wanted our two children to be a part of this community and attend excellent schools. To be completely transparent, we oftentimes lately question if we have made the right decision for our family. Over the past couple of years, especially this last year, I've seen several highly qualified teachers leave our corporations for neighboring corporations because of pay. Should we really be sacrificing the quality of our children's education because of lack of pay? These past few years have also been extremely frustrating for me because my husband is an employee of South Gibson School Corporation and receives a substantial pay raise consistently every year. I now fully understand why when a position opens up in their corporation, they have several applicants vying for their positions. My husband has asked me numerous times to try and get me to leave, but I have held my dedication to a corporation where I consider my coworkers my family. The following is an example of how we have not kept up with our neighboring corporations. And again, on the TRF issue that was addressed, it may fluctuate my husband's numbers a little bit, but you can see the difference of my contract in 2004 versus his, and mine that I just signed, and his. And this is showing that over the course of 5 years of teaching, I have received a pay increase of almost $3,000, while my husband in South Gibson has received a pay increase of $7,744.10. I also know that if I were to currently leave and accept a position in EBSC, my salary would raise to almost $50,000 simply based on my years of experience. I feel those years should count for something in the corporation I have been loyal to my entire teaching career. I do understand the need to raise starting teacher salary to get highly qualified candidates to apply for positions in our corporation. I also strongly feel that while doing so, you cannot forget about raising salaries for those who have dedicated their time to this corporation. I currently see people making more money than me because they can coach a sport, they have left in return for higher pay, or simply have connections with people in the corporation. My first full year teaching contract with MSD was in the year of 2009 and 2010, where I signed a contract for $32,496. My most recent contract for this year was $42,486. Yes, I'll go on record with how much I make there. In a 10-year span, I've received $9,990 in a pay raise. Fortunately for me, over that 10-year period, I earned my master's degree and received a significant jump in pay when that was still an option for teachers before all of the changes. Unfortunately, the way the new system is with no tiers, there is no incentive for teachers to further their education. Once the tiers were taken away, my pay became more and more stagnant. I am appreciative of the stipends we have received, but those vary year to year. They also don't allow for a raise to our base salary to account for inflation and cost of living purposes. Due to so much inconsistency and lack of pay raises, I have found the need for finding supplemental income throughout the school year and over my summer breaks. I understand that this is a complicated issue that does not have a simple solution. What I do know is that we need to focus our efforts on keeping qualified and licensed educators in our school system. I feel we have lost some of the greatness of our corporation, and it is time that we fight to get it back. Respectfully submitted. And I apologize for the time.
Mrs. Niemeyer?
I also have a letter from a teacher that could not be here. This is from Mrs. Stump, who is at a soccer game right now. Here is mine. My name is Shalane Niemeyer, and I have been an employee of the MSD of North Posey as a certified teacher since August of 2012. This is my 8th year teaching in our corporation, 10 years with my own classroom in the state of Indiana. I am writing to our administration and members of our board to voice my concerns with our current teacher compensation status. I have worked in 3 different schools or corporations since earning my teaching license. I am aware that this is a statewide issue. However, what I do want to see is opportunity. An opportunity for our district to really analyze the way our teachers are valued. I did not choose to go into this profession because I was going to make a lot of money. I chose my profession because I love learning and I love educating our youth, our future. These kids that I have the privilege of spending every day with are our future. And I say privilege because I love my job. I get to work every day. What better way is there to invest in our future than to invest in our students? This also means that we must invest in our educators that we trust and believe in to get the job done. As educators, we need to feel valued and respected. Dedicating the past 8 years of my career at North Posey has not been wasted. I absolutely love what I do, my school, my fellow educators, and our community families. That is one of the reasons I choose to stay each year. our community, our sense of family that we have established. However, it would be untrue of me to say that I haven't felt discouraged and underappreciated by our corporation. I've personally watched employees from our corporation leave for another corporation with contracts that far exceed ours. I've also watched employees come into our corporation with former hire contracts being met. I understand the value of an incoming teacher with experience, but we aren't comparing our well-devoted teachers that we already employ. This situation is extremely unsettling to our veteran teachers and our teachers that have continued to be loyal to this corporation. In my past 4 years, and I've included a chart here, as an MSD of North Posey educator, I have received a salary increase of 5.94%. According to the United States annual inflation rates found on this website, the annual inflation rate increase between 2015 and 2019 is 8.6%. The salary increase that I have received is 2.66% lower than our current inflation rates during this time frame. This is also discouraging and contributes to my need to work multiple jobs. I'm appreciative of the stipends that we've received in the past, but also those are not always guaranteed and vary from year to year. Please take a moment to consider the great impact of how lack of pay raises have affected our school district already. We are losing more and more talented teachers each year because they do not feel that their pay values our ability and the dedication that we put into our professions. At times, those positions have been filled with employees that do not hold a teaching degree. Thank you for allowing our voices to be heard. I plead with you to use this opportunity to hear the concerns of our employees of our district that pour their hearts and souls into our future and make a conscious decision to help alleviate the stress and the worry that your educators have been feeling for several years. Best regards, Shalane.
Mrs. Oakley?
Here, I have one for you, association. To Dr. Camp, Dr. Bender, Teacher Association Representative, and MSD and North Posey School Board members. I have been a teacher for 16 years. This is my 10th year with MSD of North Posey. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education, an associate's degree in early childhood education, and a kindergarten endorsement. I have been an education consultant and trained other teachers in various areas. I was also a certified trainer for DIBELS, which is still an approved universal screener by the Indiana DOE. Let me first say that I love our community and our students. I work with some of the most caring teachers around. I work hard in and outside of my classroom to stay up with education and technology in many different ways. For example, our corporation is working hard to have STEM labs and STEM time, but these are things I've been doing in my classroom for a few years now. I've been teaching my students coding, engineering, and science at their level even before it was a standard from the state or a push from our corporation. Our school is creating daily video announcements made in our Sling studio, but my classroom was the first in my school to use a green screen and post our announcements in Seesaw, a digital portfolio for my students' parents before Sling Studio was even talked about. I've recently been asked by a local Girl Scout troop to teach the coding badge for the Brownies. I'm not telling you these things to brag. I'm telling you these things in hopes that you realize we are committed to these kids day in and day out. We love our jobs. We want to do our best, but we're struggling to stay due to lack of pay and compensation. I have been rated highly effective every year that RISE has been implemented. I complete well above the 20 hours of work outside of my contract time we are required to submit each year to prove we are going above and beyond. I have asked to be moved up in tiers more than once. I was told by an administrator that if I wanted to earn a higher salary, I'd have to move corporations. They stated that they hated to say it, but it was reality these days. This year, when an opening in my building came up, I asked if I applied for that position, would I be able to move up in tiers or pay? I was told that I would not be able to move up since it was just a lateral move in the corporation, and that if I wanted to move up in pay or tiers, I'd have to resign, then reapply with MSD of North Posey. My question to you as the board of MSD of North Posey is how can you go along with that mindset? How can you be okay knowing that we have highly effective teachers who are willing to do so much for our students, who go above and beyond making themselves better educators, but not give them better compensation? I understand MSD of North Posey has a bargaining committee and a teachers association. I understand they are there to represent the teachers, and I know they are working hard and trying. But when you look at what they are bringing to you as a board to vote on, and you see the numbers, and you've heard from teachers, how can you not look at that and say, wait, we can do better? Why would you not fight for those in our district who probably have the most impact on our student body and want nothing but the best for them too, just as you have done for our facilities and other areas? I think what's starting to bother me even more is it feels like the message being sent is that our current teachers are not valued. Some current teachers make a decent wage, but probably those are the teachers who taught back when they knew each year pay would go up some. We currently have teachers who work in the same grade level and make $20,000 to $36,000 more than the teachers across the hall from them. I know because it is public record on the Indiana Gateway website. I'm excited for the ones who are making a decent wage, and I know they've earned it. But what does that do to the teacher who knows they can never attain that level of pay, no matter how hard they work? Talk goes on about raising the minimum pay, which would be a step in the right direction. But what happens to those of us who have been with this corporation for 5 to 15 years? How will our pay increase? Will we truly have to leave MSD of North Posey, reapply, and hope that you would hire us back at a higher rate? Again, what message is that sending? MSD of North Posey has never been afraid to make changes that better our schools. In just the past few years, we've remodeled, upgraded, and built new facilities. We have built a beautiful new turf field, added an amazing weightlifting facility. We have added to our curriculum, built STEM labs, upgraded to make our buildings safer, and plans are in the works for more. Again, MSD of North Posey is not afraid to make changes that better our schools. I'm asking you now to look at our teachers. Look at the compensation you give to those who are with our students every day in the classroom. Teachers who are making an impact in the lives of our kids, who are passing evaluations, implementing state mandates, staying late to make sure they're ready because schedules don't allow for time during the contracted day to do those things. And ask yourself if MSD of North Posey is doing what is right for them. I know it's not the school board's job to personally make this better. I know the state of Indiana has tied your hands in many areas in regards to teacher pay and compensation. I know it appears the state gives millions of dollars to education, and I also know that very little of that money can be used for teacher pay. But you are all creative. I know you can come together, perhaps send back ideas to the negotiating committee, talk with Dr. Camp, and everyone together find a way to make this better for our teachers. Other employees in this district have been able to receive raises, not just stipends, so that their base or hourly rates go up. Stipends are appreciated, but it is not guaranteed year to year. It does nothing for our base pay. Stipends do not carry over. Please stop and look at the numbers. Look at the dedicated teachers who are working so hard and make a positive difference for them with better wages and compensation. Sincerely, Amber Oakley.
Mrs. Gowan?
I'm no way following all that. I'll just give it to you and I'm gonna read it.
You dropped
I
an
second
envelope.
everything that they said.
You said Mrs. Stump in here, is that right?
Correct, we gave her a letter. Yeah,
Pardon?
we gave her a
Somebody
letter.
turned her letter in.
Okay,
She thought she might be able to make it after the soccer game, so.
gotcha. Mr. Kaler?
If you don't mind, I'd like to read from my seat. I get twitchy when I stand up after a long day. I just put some thoughts together. Honorable members of the school board, my name's Dave Kaler. For the past 11 years, I've been president of North Posey NEA, the North Posey Teachers Association. During my terms of office, I, and along with the bargaining team composed of representatives from each school in the North Posey school system, have bargained 5 contracts. I'm about to begin my 6th. The contract is supposed to be an agreement between 2 parties, that is, the association and the school corporation, including the board. Since 2012, the state of Indiana has increasingly inserted themselves into the bargaining process. Among other things, the Indiana State Legislature has done the following. They made laws limiting the bargaining power of the Teachers Association. They removed workplace conditions from bargainable issues. They imposed strict timelines on bargaining. They imposed penalties and forced arbitration on the association if an agreement is not reached by the state-imposed deadlines. Folks, according to the state, I bargained with a gun to my head, figuratively speaking. They eliminated the traditional salary schedule where a teacher could gradually work their way to the top of the pay scale. They created a situation where teachers loyal to this corporation are often paid less than teachers hired in from other school corporations who have the same years of experience and education. And this is a true slap in the face to teachers who remain loyal to this corporation instead of jumping ship and going someplace else. Now, this is a problem across the state, but this is an insult. This is the state doing this. It's a problem all over, but it is really rotten. Despite claims by legislatures of increasing funding for education, and this year it is slightly higher, they've mostly reduced funding to traditional public schools while increasing the funding for charter schools and private voucher schools. I'll spare you the websites. You can find out where you look. Funding for charters and voucher program went up double digits in this last year. In spite of this, the bargaining team, in collaboration with Dr. Camp and the school board, has created a performance-based compensation plan that considers teachers' evaluations, level of education, hours of service to the corporation, and years' experience in determining teacher salaries. We increase salaries for teachers at the bottom of the pay scale. We have, on occasion, held teachers harmless instead of penalizing them when student test scores were delayed or tests were incorrectly scored by the state. That was in teacher evaluations a year or 2 years ago. We hired New Harmony teachers after New Harmony School closed, and we raised their pay to North Posey's levels instead of keeping them at their lower New Harmony pay scale. Yes, there are places that make less than we do, which the state would have allowed us to do. Dr. Camp, you'll remember that it could have been, there was 2 separate pay scales. We have prevented reductions in salaries and reductions in force to teachers. Process, Dave, that Mount Vernon teachers would know quite well. And we're trying hard to get the highest salaries possible. We do still remain mindful of the teachers' aides, the cafeteria workers, and the bus drivers, and the rest of the staff who all have to draw their salaries from the same pool from the corporation. When I was, one of my earlier years here, there was one year they came in, they pink slipped all the teachers' aides. I think they made Dr. Camp do that. In short, we've worked hard to get the best deal possible for North Posey teachers, despite increasingly difficult conditions that have been imposed by the state legislature. The real reason for Indiana's teacher shortage lies with the ongoing efforts of the Indiana State Legislature to somehow believe the association isn't doing their best to get the best deal for teachers would disrespect the hours of hard work by the parties involved in creating these contracts. Respectfully, David Denver. And I only made one copy. I can send you copies. Okay. And Dr. Camp, I would like a copy of your slide presentation, please. I can get from you.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, does anybody else wish to speak on the public hearing for opening barring period? Seeing none, we'll close this hearing at this time, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Jeff Gentile.
All right. Next item on the agenda is patrons' concern, which we do not have any. Next item on the agenda is the minutes, the claim docket, consent items that were previously sent to you. I'll entertain a motion to approve those items as sent.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes, claim docket, and consent items as listed.
Second. So the motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mrs. Will, to approve the consent items and claim docket as presented. Any comments or questions regarding that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0. Should have noted at the beginning, but I'll do so now. Mr. Stock is not with us today. He's absent on a family matter. New business, Dr. Camp?
Yes, I'd like to ask the board to approve an amendment on the McAllister purchase of our buses. If you notice in the McAllister original document, if you look at where we were going to buy 2 buses, it didn't total over in the right-hand column. It stayed the same at 170,000. The new quote is the correct one is 254,700 and some odd dollars. She keeps moving it around.
I'm trying to make it bigger.
$254,780. Our buses did not change for a total cost of $237,280. So I'm asking the board to make the amendment to the previous request in the last meeting to make those changes. I should have caught that. No, you take $80,000 buses and you buy 3 of them. We knew it wasn't what it was. It just that night I was not doing the math. They offered to come down here and explain their mistake. They made this mistake with multiple school corporations. They said, I told them there was no reason for them to drive down from Indianapolis. It was an honest mistake, and I should have caught it before I presented it. Asking the board to make those changes, to correct and amend that request.
I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to amend the request approved on August 12th board meeting.
Second. A motion by Mrs. Gill and seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the motion to amend the clerical error on the quote from McAllister. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
Warren Corf with Kiwanis presented a request a month or so ago. He stated he did not need to use our grounds for the fireworks. It's come to where they need to use the grounds again as they have in the past. So the request that we approve that for the Kiwanis and Warren Corf to be able to use the grounds for the fireworks as they have in the past.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request from Warren Corf on behalf of the Kiwanis.
Second. Second. So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the request from Warren Corf on behalf of the Kiwanis for the use of school property for the fireworks. Any other comments or questions regarding this? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the Dearborn Life National for our life insurance and our long-term disability. The policy anniversary date is October 1st. The current rates that we're paying now did not change, and so that's pretty good. So I'm asking the board we continue to go with Dearborn National and approve the new contract with them for long-term disability and life insurance.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the renewal of Dearborn Life.
Second.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the renewal of the Dearborn National for life and AD&D and long-term disability group insurance program. Any other comments or questions regarding that? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 4-0.
Mike Wassmer came to Dr. Streeter and asked if he would help him out. There were 2 students that needed some different classes, and he agreed to teach those classes. We need to add horticulture for a textbook fee of $20.33, and natural resources, the textbook would be $25.25 for these 2 students that he is willing to teach. So I requested that we approve Dr. Streeter's request to make the changes in our textbook rental and add these 2 classes.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the request from Dr. Streeter to offer the 2 additional courses.
Second.
I'll second.
A motion by Mrs. Will and seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the additional courses offered as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions?
These will be offered next school year or next
No, they're
semester?
now.
They're right now, okay. And will it be open to others in?
Well, everybody, yeah, but everybody's classes were set. These were 2 classes for requirement that these kids couldn't get in with their current schedule, so and they weren't scheduled to be taught. They'll be taught at their regular cycle. This is just to help these 2 kids out to meet a requirement that they needed.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
Asking the board, we may have done this in the past. I don't know if we did. If we didn't, I'd like to redo it. Declare the 2004 E-Activity bus as surplus and the 2004 Dodge Red van as surplus. We probably will take the E-bus and put it on the list of buses to trade and then get the money that we get out of that to reduce that amount. We can put it up for sale. There's sometimes Boy Scout, Girl Scout troops that are interested in those, and we would be willing to entertain that thought if somebody comes forward. But the red van, I'll be scared to take it out of Wadesville or Poseyville, so it needs to be surplus and we need to get rid of it. So.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve, or that we declare the activity bus and the Dodge van as surplus.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the request to declare the 2 buses, or the activity bus and the Dodge van, the surplus, as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
In the past, we've maintained 3 vans. This will be the first year that we're down to 2. I will be looking to see if I can get us a deal on a 3rd van. I don't know when I'll do that, or but we probably need to get another van in the cycle because the white van has a lot of miles on it as well. So we want to keep that rotation going. So basically, we need 2 vans that can go back and forth to Indy and Jasper, and 1 van that just goes around here locally. So I will probably be at some point bringing a recommendation, talking with Jeff about the purchase of a new van so we can keep 3 in our fleet. On the personnel matter, I'm recommending that the board grant Jesse Simmons administrative leave for the 1st semester. The administrative leave shall end on December the 20th. While on administrative leave, he shall receive compensation for his regular teacher salary and his coaching salary with his benefits. This will continue through, his benefits will continue through December 31st. Recommending the board approve this leave.
Entertain a motion.
And also with that, I want to say with the leave, it also includes the agreement that we have signed.
I'll make a motion to accept or to grant Jesse Simmons administrative leave
With the agreement.
with the agreement.
Second.
There's a lot that I wish could be said here, but I'll leave it with seconding the motion.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt and seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve the recommendation to grant Jesse Simmons the administrative leave as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, and to accept the agreement that we have signed in place. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 4-0.
And he had written a letter to the board, and you have the letter that you can look at. At this time, I'd like to ask the board to approve the professional leave request for all of the ones listed. As you know, generally at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of things to go to, and a lot of this stuff is paid for out of the grants that Dr. Wanamuller has written, but ask the board to approve all of the professional leave requests as listed.
Entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the leave request as presented.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Will and seconded by Mr. Schmash. Make you read all of these.
Yeah.
To approve the professional leave request as presented by Dr. Camp. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
We moved Airmark up to the front so they could leave. There's a fuel report here that we provide with you periodically, just for you to look at and look at our fuel costs and fuel report. Also, ISBA conference, all that is scheduled. It goes right at the end of this month, so we need to make sure, and I'll be in touch with you and we'll work out. I know that I think it's this one where we're in need of about 5 vehicles. We only have 3, so we'll be working out something to get transportation, and we'll provide the vehicles to the staff, and we'll figure out some other way to get up there. So just wanted to let you know that I'm sure that I won't have a van by that time. So with that being said, we'll figure it out, and I'll be in touch with you on our professional league.
As long as it's something Greg can drive.
That's right.
I might as well just take Sandy's van from her.
So why not?
We could put you in an activity bus.
And this is the weekend of Fun Fest again, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it always is.
The next school board meeting is September the 23rd. That meeting is a special meeting, and it is for the budget hearing for the 2020 budget. The next regular meeting is October the 15th at the board office, 5:30 executive session, 6:30 regular meeting. The meeting will also include the adoption of the 2020 budget. So those next 2 meetings are pretty important. And that's all I have for the board at this time.
Do I have anything for the good of the cause?
The Safety Committee has its first meeting of the year, also on September 23rd, and I will add the minutes to the drive as soon as it's over.
Also, as far as safety goes, I got a phone call today and set up a meeting with the gentleman on some safety stuff. I told him he needed to be talking to our committee. I'll get that information to you. I'm still going to meet with him, but if you or anybody on the committee can come in and meet with me, I'll give you the date and time, and then I'll probably forward him to you guys as well.
I wanted to confirm the special board meeting we have here listed at 6, but our calendar shows 6:30, so if we're gonna be at 6, we need to move that forward. Thank you.
Because you know I'll be late.
I'll be
It's not
late,
on my
yeah.
calendar.
Well, that's gotta be absolutely correct
Yeah.
when we publish that, because, that is, it's 6.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 6.
One thing I'll add, because I see her sitting here, how many teams did we have at the cross country?
19, 19 boys.
19 boys teams at the,
Gibson or Viking
no,
Charge?
at ours,
Viking Charge? Oh gosh, probably 18 teams.
18 teams. The junior high grounds was covered,
Over 400 runners.
400 runners
Mhm.
and probably 400 grandparents and
Yeah.
parents. There were tents and people everywhere on this campus.
It's the crowdedest I've ever seen on campus.
It's,
Ever.
there was a boat parked in the front of the high school in the grass, so that was kind of interesting to see. The front of the school was completely cut. There wasn't a piece of grass to park on. It was amazing. It was our largest fundraiser in the junior high.
It usually is the junior high's largest one. Yeah.
It's my first experience. It was incredible. I wasn't prepared
Chris
for what.
Barker does
I
it all.
usually work it, but I didn't
Yeah.
this year.
Chris Barker does all of it. So
It seemed to go pretty well too,
Mhm.
so
it did.
kudos to you guys. We had lots of compliments, so pass that along. You might have anything else? All right,
Jeff?
Yep.
Real quick. I watched the football game on TV last Friday because I live in Evansville, it's home. They had a lot of good comments about the field and the lighting. So we got some good coverage with that.
Well, our neighbors of the campus appreciate the new lighting. So
Oh,
I can share that. The lighting now goes down and not all over the place, so. And somebody
It
told me,
looks good.
when we replaced the bulbs from like 100 bulbs to
28.
28, is that correct? Is that?
Yeah, went from
I
8
can't remember.
poles down to about 4. Yeah,
Somebody said it was like 95.
Danny
96
Ellis
lights.
tells me all this stuff. Yeah, it's amazing and it looks great on TV.
The bulb will cut in over half, and then we went from 7 poles to 4.
Yeah, I would not encourage to look straight at those lights though. Oh, blind. Anybody have anything else? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn. Second? So a motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mrs. Will to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.